what is the patterns in you? What is the behaviors inside of you that is creating that situation of being busy all the time? Because I'm sure part of it is, yes, I need to be able to earn enough money to pay for my horses. Sure, I'm sure that's part of it. But bigger part of it is actually you constantly filling your agenda just because that's what you're used to always doing.
One thing I always say is focused attention creates excellence. I actually have that on a post-it note. Focused attention creates excellence.
Happy Monday and super welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about a topic which is near and dear to my heart. It's a bit related to overwhelm. It's a bit related to having too many things on your plate, wanting to do well for everyone all the time, having a job, having horses to ride, wanting to be competing, wanting to earn enough money, just all those other things on your to-do list, having a family, having kids. Those are not in my case, but I think they are for a lot of people. And, sometimes you're just like, how am I as one single person with 24 hours in one day where I also need to sleep 8 hours of those, like, how am I supposed to get this all done? But before we dive in, if this is the first episode that you're listening to, then do make sure you hit the follow button. And if you are not already on our email list, then you are missing out on all the mindset and performance tips that we are sending on a weekly basis. And if you don't want to miss out any longer, if you do want to get those tips as well, then make sure you go to myndic.eu/weekly hacks. You just tick in your email address and you're good to go. Right, Lorna, let's dive in.
So I had a discovery call with a very lovely lady the other day, and the theme of this, and I think obviously we've chatted a little bit about this before we started recording, and this lady said to me, I'm trying so hard, but I am actually not doing anything well. And I think there's so many people can relate to that. This lady, she was riding, she was exercising, looking after her body. So she was fit enough to ride her horse. She was building a business. She was trying to save money. She was trying to have a social life. She was trying to be a good wife, a good parent. She's trying to sleep. She's trying to eat. She's trying to learn. She's trying to do all of these things. And she had a really good question. I said, great question, actually, because she said, and somehow, despite feeling absolutely exhausted, I still feel like I'm behind. And I think this is probably one of the biggest struggles probably for most people. And we went into this conversation and we talked about how we try and convince ourselves that every single thing is urgent. Like we have to keep spinning every single freaking plate. And eventually, we become that one spinning plate because, our attention is a finite resource. Our energy is, our nervous system is, our performance isn't though. And if you think about performance, it's a result of where all of those things are invested. And then actually she went on to talk a little bit about balance. And you and I both know balance is, an interesting word because in my mind, balance means everything gets equal attention. But we know really that life doesn't work like that. Sometimes our career has to take center stage, our job. Sometimes our horses do. Sometimes it's your family. Sometimes it's your health. Sometimes it's simply surviving. Life has seasons, huh? And I think trying to make every season contain all of these things at once and simultaneously is absolutely freaking exhausting. What do you think?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think
I can see you nodding.
Yeah, I think season is a really good word actually to describe this. Indeed, I think in life, with your jobs, with your horses, we often talk about competition seasons, but I think everything kind of goes in seasons. And when we say season, like you say, a season for me is when you focus intensely on one particular thing, and then you accept that other things, or maybe we don't always accept, but I think you need to learn to accept that when in that season, if it's a season of work, then other things are going to have to take the backseat. If it's a season of eventing, then other things are going to have to take the backseat. If it's a season of your family holiday or Christmas times, then other things are going to have to take the backseat. Yeah. So I think if we think about a season, it's not necessarily a spring or a summer. It's more a season where you choose what at that particular time is going to take the biggest priority, the most of your attention, and then accept that other things move to the background.
Yeah, absolutely. And this lady actually talked a lot about having a family, having a full-time job, and obviously, doing horses as her hobby as well. And we all know, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, horse sport is expensive. It's actually very expensive. And sometimes we have to realize it's the thing that allows our riding dreams to actually exist, and yes, your job is going to take time away from your riding or, away from your family, but that doesn't necessarily mean to say we have to abandon our dreams. Like we did a reframe of it. You're actually funding your dreams. And sometimes, or a lot of the time, our job or our full-time job, doesn't matter whether you do horses full-time or you have a different career, it supports our riding. And I laughed with this a little bit before the podcast. Sometimes our full-time job is actually what we need to do in that moment to get the money to go training rather than going training and not earning the money in that time. And I think, as well, we look at social media, and especially in equestrian sport, everyone celebrates people riding every single day. You see like all these really cool riders that are just out there riding, 8-10 horses a day. Rarely do you see the person that's sat at their desk until 10 o'clock at night that's, doing calls, doing work, doing whatever, so they can actually work to be able to afford to do this sport or, afford to allow their children to do this sport or whatever that looks like. So I think putting something on the back burner for me is absolutely not the same as throwing it away. Like I think there's actually a huge difference in those two things. So instead of I'll never get there or I'll never be able to do this, actually imagine if we could say, okay, not right now, because our dreams are never going to expire because they take longer. Sometimes I believe that we grow into our dreams, and maybe that actually gives us a stronger foundation in ourselves and in our horses and everything. I really do believe that not now that's not fair. Like we've not thrown that away.
No, but I like the thought there to then divide it, because what often happens that I like the season thinking there, right? Because it's, at least if I look at my own life, then I'll say, okay, I have this and this and this going on right now, and therefore this and this and this not right now. I want to do it later, but not right now. But that then later becomes a year later, 2 years later, and it just moves. And I personally, I hate when that happens. So I think often in my life puzzle, the piece that is missing is to have fixed points. And now just, I'm thinking out loud here, to have fixed points where you say, okay, for those coming 3 months, let's say the season is work. But to then after those three moments, have a point in your agenda where it says reevaluation of your season, right? And then that you can take a new decision of if work is going to continue to be the priority for the coming 3 months, or if the eventing is going to be the priority, or if our family is going to be the priority, because it's easy to otherwise get stuck into that and continue on that forever, and then miss out on those reflection points. And before you know it, you're 5 years down the line, and you've been like just working for 5 years and just put your dreams to the side.
You slid that in there brilliantly there, because that's what I was about to come up with next. Are your non-negotiables in that season? You can have horses, you can have your event and show jumping, whatever that looks like, dressage, whatever that looks like. Also your health, like taking time to exercise, eat, sleep properly. Relationships, like we all get stuck into getting so obsessed by going eventing, talking about myself and doing all those kind of things, our partners, our families. Income, your mental well-being, like whatever that looks like. But I think it's really cool in those seasons or season if you can put your non-negotiables in there, because everything doesn't have to have an equal impact. Like some things will create momentum. Like we talk about career and jobs, obviously that's kind of at the front of our minds, and that cash that you can earn by really getting your head stuck in that season will create momentum in your own eventing season next time, because you're going to have that little pot that you can train out of, that you can enter extra competitions, that you can put the diesel in your truck. But I think having too many things in that season, it creates busyness. Like that's all it does, It just creates busyness. And then I'll let you go into this, but then we can go into the whole identity thing. Whereas, if I'm busy, like that's part of my identity. Like I can do all of this, and I can do it all well.
Yeah, no, I love that bit. And because here's the thing: it comes down to priorities. And it comes down to really freaking awesome time management and not wasting your time with social media. And, that is all part of it, 100%. And I've gotten so much better with that over the years. I still am working on getting better. I have a new app blocker on my phone, which helped me immensely just to not waste too much time on Instagram. But, that is only one part of it, because then you have the identity bit of it, which is, certainly for me, something that, I don't know exactly what was the way you put it before we started recording, Lorna?
I can't remember. we should know. One of our great conversations.
You said something that really hit home with me. You said something that really hit home with me. But basically what it comes down to is that if you're the type of person that, like, you want to do well, usually those people are really driven, very determined.
Yeah.
You kind of always have a lot going on. You always have a lot on your plate. And actually that makes you feel good about yourself as well. The fact that you can have a lot of things on your plate.
Yeah.
So it kind of feeds into, it becomes this vicious circle of like, okay, more. And I can have, it's almost like you grow into the next challenge all the time, because I will see it as being like, okay, because I now solved that challenge, I now earn the right to solve an even bigger challenge and more things. And I can also add this ball, and I can juggle this, and I can juggle, like, look at me, like I can do all those things like at the same time. And that kind of, it actually helps with my confidence, because I feel like, oh, I can do all this, I'm the man, like I can do all of this at the same time. So I think no matter, how much I prioritize and how many things that I, take off my plate, because I have that identity and I have that behavior, I will constantly add new things on, probably in a bigger speed than I will take things away. And that has done nothing to do with priorities, or it just is a behavior, it's a pattern of how I am functioning.
Yeah. I think that's also a great question. How or what am I doing in my week because I feel guilty? Like, how much of your week are you spending trying not to disappoint people? And that could be in terms of clients, in terms of taking on more work, trying to help more people, not letting people down because you said you're going to go training, then you don't have time, or you don't have time to go to that competition, but you feel like you should. You're trying to keep up with everybody else, because, oh God, what happens if I get left behind? You're trying to prove something. If you think about it in terms of your horse's training, we can't do everything at once. We can't collect, we can't extend, we can't have relaxation, we can't have power, we can't have precision. Like, we cannot ask a horse for everything all at once. So what do you do in your training? You prioritize, you build, you layer your training. But yet with ourselves, we expect maximum performance in every area of our life, every single day. Why?
Yeah, but I really do think it comes down to just a need of like feeling like you're good enough, and if you can do a lot in one time, it's you basically are like, okay, check me out, I'm good enough. And I think that is different with everyone, but I think it's very useful to stop for a moment rather than being like, I'm so busy, I've got so much going on. Like, if you just for a second, rather than keep on telling everyone, and I'm speaking from the heart here, like, because I have the tendency of doing this all as well. I'm just telling everyone how freaking busy I am and how much I got going on. If you stop doing that for a second and just take, sit down for a second, step back for a second, and start to ask yourself, well, what are the patterns? What are the behaviors that are creating all of that? Like, what is it that you are constantly doing upon which you end up in that same situation again and again and again and again and again and again and again? And then it comes down to what you just said, Lorna. Oftentimes it's some kind of people pleasing, wanting to be like, don't wanting to disappoint people. There's usually something like that in the background. And once you can identify that, you can also start to pinpoint the moments where you do that, where you say yes, like every time you say yes to something, every time you add like a double booking to your agenda, you think, I'll figure it out later. Or every time, like, what is the patterns in you? What is the behaviors inside of you that is creating that situation of being busy all the time? Because I'm sure part of it is, yes, I need to be able to earn enough money to pay for my horses. Sure, I'm sure that's part of it. But bigger part of it is actually you constantly filling your agenda just because that's what you're used to always doing.
One thing I always say is focused attention creates excellence. I actually have that on a post-it note. Focused attention creates excellence. So actually focus in. And I think if you bring it, here is a wee exercise. If you write down everything you're trying to carry, and I did it with this lady, every goal, every responsibility, every expectation. Everything, like literally everything.
Oh my God, I just get exhausted. Just the thought of having to write it all down.
I was going to say, you'll fill the A4 piece of paper. I think you'll probably fill the whole wall. Anyway, everything. And then you're only allowed to circle 3, just 3. And that's not because the other things don't matter. But what it does do, it creates the things that get the best out of your season. So the rest of them become not yet, not forgotten, not abandoned, just waiting for their turn. Not yet, not forgotten, not abandoned, just waiting for their turn. And it's amazing when you just have those 3 things that you allow your attention to focus on.
Yeah.
Most people are carrying more than one person was designed to carry, to be fair.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And every dream doesn't have to happen this year. Doesn't have to happen this season. They don't all have to happen at the same time, to be fair. And I think sometimes the bravest thing that any ambitious person out there can do is choose. That is all in our control, huh? And it is a brave thing to do, is actually choose. Because every single time we choose one thing, you also have to choose to let something else wait. And to be fair, that's not failure. That's actually being pretty smart. That's actually using your wisdom. Yeah. I think it's a great exercise and we can all do it, huh? We can absolutely all do it.
When we find the time. No, just kidding.
The time.
When we create the time. When we create
the time.
When you create the time.
But for you, who has a lot going on right now, you know, in your season, that would actually be a priority task that I would make you do. It is though, because it's going to have the biggest impact on your season, to be fair.
Yeah. Now, actually, I have this as a standing. I do log everything that I everything that pops into my mind that I would like to be doing. You know, whether it's I must do it, I need to do it, I want to do it, I get to do it. Everything that pops into my mind, I have a computer program where I put everything in. That's an app and a computer program that is connected. So I do have that full extensive list, right, of the whole wall basically. And then. And then every beginning of every week, I do say, okay, well, what are the top 3 priorities? And those are not necessarily 3 different tasks. Those are more like kind of bigger chunk of things, you know, and but that is a little bit the season mentality. It's like, which one is going to get the biggest priority this week, you know? And I do think in every shape or form that you can do that. It can also be quite overwhelming to have to do that exercise every week. But I think what matters is that you put it in for yourself somewhere, or at least at the moments where you feel like you're going into overdrive, that you then have the reflex of sitting down and at that point saying, okay, it is too much at the moment. How am I gonna, what am I gonna stop doing? What are my top 3 priorities? What can I put in the back burner?
I also think as well, it's giving yourself permission, huh? Like giving yourself permission to whatever is in that season to allow yourself to fully be in there. You know, I always say your awareness should be where your feet are. So if your things are your career, your job, like you have to be really in there. Your awareness has to be fully in there, not wishing that you could be out there riding your horse, not wishing you could do whatever. You have to give yourself permission to actually fully get into that thing, whatever it is. And I think 100%. Sometimes that's how we can find a bit of peace with that almost. So rather than, you know, if you think about performance in general, whether it's sports, whether it's career, whether it's whatever it is, it's never lack of ability. It's our attention is so fragmented on too many things, and our mind starts trying to be everywhere at once. And you're never present anywhere. And I think that's why, you know, I'm trying harder, I'm doing everything, but actually I'm getting nowhere essentially because, no wonder, because your attention is not fully in or on any one thing.
Yeah. No, it's like that saying, you know, the multitasking is, you know, no one can really multitask. And even those people that claim that they can, they are actually just task switching, which is the thing that is the most energy consuming thing that you can do. So anything you can do to make sure that you are, like you say, where your feet are and focusing on one thing at a time. And even if it feels backwards, to do, because you'll be like in the beginning, it's like, oh, I'm just doing one thing at a time, but you'll get that one thing done so fast, or just more enjoyable that it's
and probably
actually
to the
worth
best of your ability.
Yeah.
Like if we really focus on one task, we absolutely can do that. That focused attention creates excellence. Like if you really get into one task, then you're going to do it well.
Yeah.
Or to the best of your ability, essentially.
Mm-hmm. It's the split attention. Like you say, it has nothing to do with your
100%.
ability. That is the split attention.
It isn't. No.
No.
But like you say, that comes down to that identity thing. I should be able to do everything well.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't actually, because that's not the way humans are actually wired. That's your identity. That's your ego, actually.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Thank you so much for that, Lorna. Do you have anything else to add?
No, that's if anybody wants to reach out, if anybody wants to handle this, then I'd say we're both experts at it. So come on down.
Learn from experience and still learning. Yeah.
And still learning, you're right.
Yeah.
And still learning. Yeah. For sure.
But as they say, the best coaches are the ones who are still learning.
Yep. And we are every single day through every single experience.
Yeah. Good.
Sure.
Anyhow, if you just want to reach out and you feel like, oh, yeah, I just want to let you guys know that I feel the same way, please do so as well. You can find us on Instagram and on email. You'll find all the details in the show notes of this episode. And as a reminder, as I said in the beginning, if you do want those mindset and performance hacks handy delivered to your email, then do make sure you go to minnick.eu/weeklyhacks. And other than that, we're going to finish this episode off as we always do with challenging you to start making strides in your mindset so you can truly make strides in your riding. And we will see you on the next Magical Monday.